Hello and welcome to 4i Audio AI Morning Mix. I'm Raina. Today is Friday, January 30th, 2026. Quick roadmap. We'll cover a major contract clash between Anthropic and the U.S. Department of Defense, new product integrations from ServiceNow and Google, big financing moves around OpenAI and Anthropic, Nvidia supply and calendar items, Apple's audio AI acquisition, and more. Jesse will break down each story. Ready to jump in?
Ready, let's go.
First up, ServiceNow deepens its partnership with Anthropic and names Claude the default model for its build agent. Jesse, what did the company announce?
Anthropic announced this on January 28th via a company statement. ServiceNow will make Anthropic's Claude the default for its build agent and a preferred model across the ServiceNow AI platform. Quick context. ServiceNow said Claude will power agentic workflows and speed application development for both technical and non-technical users, and that the rollout is already being used internally by roughly 29,000 employees to speed seller prep and engineering tasks.
Why does that matter for enterprise AI?
Two reasons. One, it's a distribution win for Anthropic. Being the default model inside an enterprise workflow platform drives steady usage. Two, ServiceNow tied the move to stronger AI demand as it raised subscription guidance and authorized more share repurchases. So this is both product integration and a signal about commercial traction. One quick takeaway. Model choice inside platform defaults now equals platform-level influence in the enterprise.
Next, Google rolled Gemini 3 into Chrome with a persistent sidebar and an auto-browse agent that can act across sites. Jesse, spell out the update and the risks.
eWeek reported this on January 29th. Google is embedding Gemini 3 into a persistent sidebar in Chrome, adding an auto-browse agent that can complete multi-step tasks across websites and extending Gemini's access to Google Apps. The product now asks for confirmations on high-risk actions, but security observers warned the agentic capabilities and deeper app integrations materially expand the attack surface.
So more convenience, but more exposure. What should listeners watch for?
Watch for prompt injection and consent bypass vectors, and for how Google implements confirmations and permission UIs. Big picture. Agentic web automation is useful, but it raises a new class of security and UX problems that companies will need to harden quickly.
Turning to funding, Financial Times reported that Anthropic doubled its late-stage funding target to $20 billion and is near a valuation of $350 billion. Jesse, what's the context?
Financial Times reported this on January 28th. Anthropic increased its target from $10 billion to roughly $20 billion, with a reported valuation near $350 billion. Expected backers include Sequoia Capital, GIC, and Co2. Quick context sentence about the company. Anthropic builds large language models with a strong focus on safety and controlled deployments, selling to enterprises and cloud partners.
That's an enormous number. Any immediate market implications?
At that scale, Anthropic's fundraising will shape competitive dynamics, partnerships, hardware demand, and pricing. It also signals a lot of investor confidence in safety-focused model vendors, which could influence negotiation power in enterprise deals.
Big financing chatter next. Reuters reported that Nvidia, Amazon, and Microsoft are in talks to invest tens of billions of dollars in OpenAI. Jesse, give us the numbers and the setup.
Reuters reported this on January 29th. Multiple outlets say Nvidia could invest up to around $30 billion, Amazon perhaps up $50 billion in some reports, and Microsoft under $10 billion. These are term sheet level discussions as OpenAI explores a very large fundraising round.
What does this mean for cloud and hardware relationships?
If those investments happen, expect tighter alignment between OpenAI and its compute and chip suppliers. Preferential access, joint engineering, maybe even pricing or co-development deals. It also compresses the strategic landscape. Deep pockets from infrastructure players could lock in long-term advantages.
Now a policy and ethics story. The Wall Street Journal wrote that Anthropic is in a dispute with the U.S. Department of Defense over usage restrictions in a roughly $200 million contract. Jesse, what's the dispute?
The Wall Street Journal reported this on January 30th. Anthropic imposed safety-focused deployment limits that rule out certain use cases, including some domestic surveillance and specific weapons-related deployments. and that has frustrated some Pentagon stakeholders. The reported figure is about $200 million, and Anthropic says it remains engaged in discussions with the Department of Defense.
Quick context. Why would Anthropic limit uses in a defense contract?
Anthropic positions itself on safety and restrictive use policies to avoid misuse and reputational risk. The tension is between strict ethical guardrails and end users, here a defense agency, that want broader operational flexibility. Takeaway: expect more of these deal-level negotiations as safety policies collide with mission requirements.
Switching to M&A, Reuters wrote that Apple has acquired Israeli audio AI startup Q.ai. Jesse, what did Apple buy and why?
Reuters reported this on January 29th. Apple announced it acquired Q.ai, a startup that builds machine learning tech for whispered and noisy environment speech and silent speech detection. Media reports estimated the deal near $2 billion, and Q.ai's founding team will join Apple. Apple said the acquisition will advance on-device audio and speech capabilities.
$2 billion is a sizable price for audio tech. What's the product implication?
It signals Apple is doubling down on private on-device audio processing, better whisper detection, noisy speech recognition, and maybe silent or subvocal interfaces. That fits Apple's broader privacy and silicon strategy.
Hardware update. Reuters reported Jensen Huang said a license for shipments of Nvidia's H200 accelerator to Chinese customers is being finalized. Jesse, what did he say and why it matters?
Reuters reported this on January 29th. Jensen Huang, returning from a China trip, said the license for H200 shipments to Chinese customers is being finalized, and he is hopeful for a favorable decision. This underlines ongoing commercial and regulatory talks over advanced AI chip exports to China.
Short takeaway?
If approved, it eases commercial constraints for Nvidia and Chinese cloud customers. If not, expect supply bottlenecks and competitive pressure on localized chip makers. This is a key sentence. The outcome will materially affect global training capacity and geopolitics of AI compute.
On the IPO front, the Wall Street Journal wrote that OpenAI is preparing for a possible fourth quarter IPO in 2026. Jesse, what are the signs?
The Wall Street Journal reported this on January 30th. OpenAI has begun informal talks with Wall Street banks and is expanding its finance team, hiring executives, and weighing large pre-IPO fundraising options to bolster capital ahead of a potential public listing in the fourth quarter. The reporting suggests they're getting their financial house in order.
Any implications for the market?
An OpenAI IPO would be a defining public market moment for the AI industry. It could set valuation benchmarks and influence where capital flows across models and compute suppliers, especially if it precedes or follows major private raises we discussed earlier.
Last main item, Nvidia scheduled its fourth quarter earnings call for February 25th. Jesse, what did Nvidia say?
Nvidia Investor Relations announced this on January 28th. Nvidia will host a conference call on February 25th to discuss fourth quarter and full fiscal year 2026 results. The fiscal year ended January 25th. They also said the CFO will post written commentary immediately after results, and the call will be webcast.
Why should listeners mark their calendars?
Nvidia's numbers and guidance shape expectations for hardware supply, GPU pricing, and data center demand, all of which ripple through AI infrastructure and valuations. Expect investors to zero in on demand from cloud customers and OpenAI-related arrangements.
Speed round, quick hits. First, local opposition to new data center builds is intensifying as power demand spikes.
S&P Global reported this on January 29th. Communities are pushing back, with dozens of moratoria and delays as electricity and water demand from AI infrastructure rises. If you work in planning or procurement, expect longer lead times and more regulatory engagement.
Upwind raised $250 million in a Series B.
TechCrunch reported this on January 29th. Upwind is a runtime-first cloud security startup focused on protecting cloud and AI workloads in real time. The $250 million Series B, led by Bessemer, will accelerate product development and global expansion.
Elion secured $50 million in strategic investments from AMD, ARM, Coherent, Meta, and others.
A company press release on January 28th reported this. Elion builds high-performance interconnect and chiplet technologies for AI systems. The $50 million will push commercialization of their new Link Fi and Interconnect products.
Gemini app calendar access expanded. Now it can reach shared and secondary Google calendars.
9 to 5 Google reported this on January 29th. The Gemini app can now find, create, and manage shared and secondary calendars, which improves convenience but broadens data surface and could be an indirect vector for prompt injection unless permissions are tightened.
OpenAI launched a €500,000 EMEA Youth and Wellbeing Grant program.
OpenAI announced this on January 28th. The program will fund NGOs and researchers working on youth safety, well-being, and AI literacy with €500,000 of grants to support projects starting in Q2 or Q3.
Spring Health to acquire Alma in digital mental health consolidation.
The Wall Street Journal reported this on January 29th. The deal combines employer-focused platforms to integrate practice management and payer integration with AI-driven personalization. The transaction is expected to close in Q2, pending regulatory review.
Rogo raised $75 million in a Series C and opened a London office.
Company statements on January 28th reported this. Rogo is an AI platform for finance. The $75 million Series C, led by Sequoia, will fund European expansion and scaling of agentic systems for financial workflows.
Guide launched with a $60 million seed round to build an AI-native brokerage platform.
The company announced this on January 28th. Guide will use the $60 million to build Guide OS, an AI-native brokerage focused on insurance, wealth, and health. Think verticalized automation for financial services.
Sam Altman said AI could put downward pressure on daily living expenses by driving productivity gains.
The Economic Times reported this on January 30th. Altman argued AI-driven productivity in software and robotics could create deflationary effects that lower everyday costs, increasing the real value of money.
Quick recap. ServiceNow and Google pushed product integrations that expand agentic capabilities. Anthropic is both raising massive capital and negotiating tough limits in a defense contract. Big strategic investors may pour tens of billions into OpenAI. Apple bought audio AI talent, and Nvidia's supply and calendar events remain market movers. Jesse, one-sentence takeaway?
AI is moving faster on 3 fronts at once. Product integrations that change end-user workflows, huge capital flows that reshape competitive stakes, and regulatory or ethical frictions that will determine where and how models get deployed.
If you found this useful, share it with a friend or a coworker who follows AI. We post show notes and links to sources in the episode page. Thanks for listening. I'm Raina.
And I'm Jesse. We'll be back with more updates tomorrow. Take care.